Hey everybody, today on Drummer Knows Best, Unlimited Tony Coleman Drummer Knows Best podcast. And I want you to like, subscribe, do all you can do to make this podcast grow. But today I got a great friend who's the artist relations guy for Sabian Cymbals, my cymbal company. Sabian. And here he is, Chris Stankee, yo.
Hey, Tony T.C. Coleman.
Drummer knows.
That's what I'm talking about.
Subscribe, like, and share on all platforms. And now here he is, my Sabian representative, my Sabian man, Chris Stankee. Yeah.
Hey, TC. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm good, man. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. I'm getting this podcast together. I know everybody's got one nowadays, but I'm going to try it out for myself and see how it does.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me practice because we're starting one too. So I've got to figure out how to do this as well.
Good, man. I appreciate you guys putting up with me. I still got to figure out adjustments. I may have to get a new computer, man. I'm so behind. I still got a dial phone.
I'm on a 2012 MacBook Air, so
See, yeah, I got to get a Mac.
I got to keep feeding this hamster while we're doing this to make sure it keeps on the wheel.
Right. We've been together for a long time, man.
Yeah, like 25 years now.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But you've
sir.
been with the company a lot longer than that, haven't you?
Yes, I first joined I remember exactly the day I got hooked up I was on the Live Aid show in '85. I was over in the North Sea Jazz Festival, and that's when Sabian was doing ads. Sabian, I'm a Sabian switcher,
Yeah.
and I became a Sabian switcher.
So that was pretty much right back at the beginning, a couple years after Sabian turned into Sabian from what it was. Um, so that must have been a really interesting time. Bob Zildjian started the company out of the ashes of a previous relationship with his family,
Yeah.
and how quickly he was able to fire this up, which is pretty great.
Yeah, it was really funny, man. I just want to share a story with everybody.
Yeah.
I mean I've known Bob when I was a little bitty tight, little tight, and I used to see him at the NAM show in Chicago at the McCormick Center place there in the summertime. And I was a young lad, and there was a drum shop called Frank's Drum Shop, and Maury LaShawn introduced me to him and said, this young guy here, I think he's going to be all right, Bob." And Bob was like, "Oh yeah, so tell me about yourself. What are you doing? What kind of music? Blah blah blah." And we were tight from that day forward. We was tight before he had started his own company. And I used to always see him, and he used to make me feel like I was part of his family. He did that with everybody. He made you feel like you were actually important, that you mattered.
Same here.
So now years later, I'm with BB, and we're at the North Sea, and everybody had his other company's swag on. All the drummers from all the bands had their swag. You know, can I say the Z word?
Sure. I'm going to edit it
So
out.
okay, well, forget that.
I'm just kidding.
So
Are you?
anyway, I didn't have any, and guy name was Dane Marshall. He was a rep for Sabian's company, and he said, "Hey, I noticed you're playing those Z's there. You should check out Sabian. Zildjian has a company, and we got a booth over here. I want you to check them out." I said, "Okay," and I checked him out. I said, "I like them," and I had a ride that I liked. He said, "And I know they can match the ride you got." And I said, "Okay." So now I'm going on Live Aid all around the world. And he says, and I wasn't even thinking about it. He said, "Why don't you try them out?" And I wasn't even thinking about being on Live Aid, right? And so
That
I'm
was
up
only
there.
that was only one of the biggest audiences ever at the time, if I
Yeah,
recall.
Yes, all around the world.
Yeah.
And so I said, he said, I'll bring you the ones you picked and you can try them out. Hey, it's just another gig. I'm thinking, whatever. And bam, I'm playing them and I'm liking them. And then I get back and I get a call. You doing? I won't say who was chewing me out,
Yep.
but he know who he was. He was cursing me out. What the hell's wrong with you? You go over there. And I
You
said,
know, go ahead.
I said, is this the way you're talking to me like this? Yes, I'm going with Sabian.
All right. Good move.
Yeah, it was a great move.
You know, I
But
believe it was at that one of those NAMM shows in Chicago where some of the old drum community cats may or may have not have worked for Bob at that time. I think they put a baby grand piano in the elevator and took it up to somebody's hotel room um, just to have some fun out of the hotel lobby. So, yeah,
oh,
those
wow.
guys, they caused some trouble for sure.
Oh yeah, man. It was those days you could get cursed out quick, boy.
I think that Lenny DeMusio was involved in some way. Sure miss that guy.
Yes, yes, he was. He was. Yeah, I miss him.
Lenny was a mentor of mine. He worked at the Z Company for 40 years, I think, and then came to work at Sabian about the last 10 years or so of his career. Fortunately, we
Mhm.
lost him a few years ago, but man, what a wealth of knowledge. He and his uh, colleagues at that time sort of built the model of artist relations that we know today in the drum business. So to learn from Lenny was is really great to be able to have that line go back to the beginning.
Yeah. So
Very
how did you come on
wise.
board, Chris? How did you start?
Well, I right out of Berkeley took a job as an intern at Yamaha Drums. This
Time
is
out. Time out. West Coast Berkeley or East Coast Berkeley?
East Coast Berkeley, the music company, the
Oh,
music
okay.
college Berkeley. Yeah,
Yeah.
common common mix up. But so when I went to work for Yamaha Drums when they were still in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I think I got paid like $2.42 an hour as a intern. So I was kind of stuck there in Grand Rapids. So I made lemonade out of lemons and started working. Well, stayed at Yamaha to work as a product specialist for a while and learned a whole lot from them. You know, they were developing the stage custom and maple custom lines of drums at that time when I was there. And I
Yeah.
got to interview people like Dave Weckl and David Garibaldi and Steve Gadd, and Vinny Colaiuta was with them at the time.
Yeah.
It was fun calling Vinny because his mom would always answer. And, well, let me go get him. She's the sweetest lady.
All right.
Sure do miss her. But great foundation and realized what a great community we have in the drum business from my time working there. And when I left to go work for a music store and teach, I picked up a gig with the band and ended up touring the country for a few years. And, you know, the last few years I played 250 to 270 dates a year, 2 years in a row. So I feel like I
Yeah,
paid
man.
my dues
Yeah.
during that time. So when I got off the road, I'd gained some endorsements at that time, and one of them was with Sabian because
Hmm.
a friend of mine that worked at Yamaha started working for Sabian at that time. So when I was on the road, I'd go through on tour in Boston and be like, "Ah, come out and see the place and all that." And when I stayed with him, got out of the shower, he had already left for the office. He's like, "It's right across the street. Just walk over when you're done." You know, I brought my cymbals down because I was using a different company. And my cymbals were gone when I got out of the shower. So this will be interesting. So I went over there and he's like,
When you
"Yeah, I
got
got."
out of the shower, uh-oh.
Well, the bag was in the hallway.
That
No.
sounds like a rock and roll story.
Well, I
So had some symbols going on. Okay, I'll stop.
so this was all stuff that, I had curated over the years, with my limited budget. It was, okay stuff that I was using on tour. But I got over to the office and my buddy introduced me to Andy Zildjian, who was like, that bag of cymbals is out by the dumpster. So you go back and pick out some better cymbals. And if you can't find better cymbals, well, you know where the others are at. And needless to say, I had no trouble picking out better
Yeah,
cymbals that
of
were
course.
perfectly suited for what I was doing at the time. And you know, they were just having a little fun, and it was all a gas, and been in with them ever since. It's just been great to me. And even when I got off the road with the band, then they're like, they knew I had experience at Yamaha and a music store and teaching and all
Right.
that. And, you know, was studying a little bit with Dom Pemularo. So I'm sure he gave me a
Yeah,
glowing
God rest his
recommendation. And
soul. What a great
yeah,
guy, Dom.
absolutely. He did so
That's
much
our
for me.
brother. Miss him,
Yeah.
boy.
Would not have gotten the attention that I did if it wasn't for Dom, and been
Mm,
introduced to so many great people. So basically, I have him to thank for getting my foot in the door, and went to work for Sabian for a while, right off the road with the band. And
mm.
they had me on the East Coast doing uh, retail specialist kind of merchandising. So I would go into the stores and just make sure the Sabian looked good. And basically, they were sending me out to learn. You know, go learn in the field, see what everybody's doing. You got to know what the dealers need and the drum shops want. I
Yeah.
already knew what, you know, Sabian had to offer and the sounds we had, but I had to see more of what the competition was doing outside of the store bubble that I had been working in. So it was really cool to see all that and figure out how it all works, you know, from the giant chains of Guitar Center and at the time Sam Ash and Mars Music, to the great little pro shops like, you know, Bentley's Drum and those kind of places. So
Yeah.
after about, you know, little after September 11th, 2001 happened, they moved me out to the West Coast to work out here, and I've been here ever since now, coming up on 25 years. And
Oh, wow.
you remember Bobby Booze? He was
Of
running an
course.
office out here at the time, so I learned a lot from
Yes.
Bobby too,
Yeah,
and
Bobby's
Lenny.
cool. Have you spoke to Bobby lately?
Yeah, he's doing great down in Florida. Yeah, playing
Yeah.
a lot,
He,
and I think he's doing some production, backline, studio work, that kind of stuff.
you
So
you know, we're both Floridians, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, and he used to play at a little rock club in Daytona Beach, and I played around the corner at a reggae bar called the Ocean Deck, was right by the pier, and playing reggae music. So he and I, we've known each other for a long time.
yeah, good cat. So I
Yeah,
learned a
great
lot from
guy.
him and then moved into artist relations from there when he moved to the East Coast to do artist relations from there. So we worked together for a time. I handled the West Coast and he handled the East Coast. And then
Mm,
when he moved on, I took over the country here, and that expanded from Canada to the international markets too. So got a great team over here. Christian Koch is over in Europe, who does our artist
yeah.
relations over there. And we have a network of artist relations around the world with point people at our distribution companies around the world who operate independently, but artist relations wise, you know, they don't work for us, but they work on our behalf for the
Well, I'm
artists.
gonna have to get you my schedule. I'm always Mr. Delayed, man. Mr. Delayed, man. I don't know what that, but I'm doing a European tour. I'll be in Europe from June 15th until like August the 1st.
Wow, that's coming right up.
Yeah, it's current, but I have to give them a call and make sure I'll get you my schedule.
So
They're still
you
putting the schedule together or something.
are they renting gear for you over there?
Yeah, doing backline. Yeah.
Yeah. So for people who don't know how that works, you know, when you get to somebody at like Tony's level, what we do is we have inventories at specific spots over there, like Captured Live in Germany, London Drum Company in the UK. Our distribution is Pearl over there, Pearl Europe. So they have some stuff. And we call them and ask them to set up a loan, usually for a short period of time. If it's more than a couple weeks, then you know, these places are backline companies, they're not
Right.
Sabian. So if it's more than a couple weeks, they can't make money off those rentals because they also use that gear to rent out and make money. So it's a mutually beneficial partnership. They take care of our artists, and we take care of them. They
Yeah.
make money off the rental gear. So it's a changing landscape. You know, it's harder to do that model anymore because cymbals are so expensive. They break. They cost as much as a snare drum, but they don't last. You know,
Right.
it's not the same thing. So it's
Right.
a changing landscape for us, and we're trying to figure out what to do to manage that expense and still take care of everybody.
It's really amazing what you guys do because not only do you have Tony Coleman, you got like 1,000 Tony Colemans, so that
Not quite
represent
that many, but there's a
you
lot.
know, but it's so many
Yeah.
people to that represent us.
Yeah, and busy times of the year, like summer tour season, festival season in particular in Europe, is like, now through beginning of July, July pretty much. I think there's a couple later ones in August, but
Yeah,
tons of those festivals. I mean, these big bands just go from one festival of 100,000 people to the next one in the next country, and people keep coming. So it's, people always say, oh, I wish they had stuff like that in the US. It's like, well, we do. If you haven't been to Summerfest in Milwaukee, it's 3 weekends in July.
that's right.
Usually ends
Summerfest is
over
great.
4th of July. I mean, I looked at the lineup for that the other day. I don't know, I must have scrolled for 10 minutes and didn't see all the
Yeah,
bands that are on there.
exactly.
Hundreds of bands. New Orleans Jazz and
Coachella,
Heritage Festival. Yep,
Jazz
of
and
course,
Heritage.
Coachella. But Jazz and Heritage, they got such great local flavor, but they bring in big headliners too. But
Yeah,
I really love that one because of that local flavor being the New Orleans Heritage Festival. So we've been sponsoring that for a long time. I love going down there every year and working that. We've got cymbals on every stage because there's about,
yeah. You've
yeah,
always been there for me when I didn't have my own stuff. You guys are always
yeah,
right
yeah.
there, man.
Got a, I got a radio call one time. It was, hey man, can you get over to the blues tent? There's a guy that's not happy at all with the cymbals. I'm like, I look at the schedule. Who's at the blues tent right now or later today? I'm like, that son of a bitch. Get over there. What's this Memphis ride thing? What's this Memphis ride? It's all unfinished. Like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, did you play it? Well, not
Hey
yet,
man,
but
me bitching about something? Come on, Chris, you never heard me bitching. Come on.
nah, what, nah,
Everybody
nah.
knows me. I never bitch.
That was a good time. Must have seen you a
Uh,
couple times there. You weren't with BB at that festival. I think that was great female blues artist,
Anna
Anna
Popovic.
Popovich. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great
I
show.
I had put that band together out of Memphis, and everybody in that band was from Memphis, and they were great, man. They
Yeah,
very funky and soulful. Memphis and New Orleans kind of got a flip flop of the vibe of the different grooves. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's kind of like tit for tat with those two cities when it comes to
yeah.
music. But New Orleans, I don't know the food in New Orleans, man. I don't know.
I don't know. I like barbecue in Memphis too, but it's been a
Yeah,
long
that's
time since
true.
I've been there. I mean, the only place I ever played in Memphis was BB King's place on BB Beale Street
Oh,
when
okay.
we went through town.
And
That
Memphis in May, weren't you at Memphis in May one time? You never
uh,
did.
Man, it's been a long 25
I
years, but
know.
I don't
So
remember being at that one. But I
yeah.
do remember going through New Orleans on tour and having to play metal night at House of Blues. Like, we're not a metal band. So that was weird. But you
You're
guys in
right.
hairspray and spandex, and here we are going on open. And it was a Monday night, so there was like 10 people in the place, and I think they all work there or, played in the other band. So that was a weird first introduction to New Orleans, but I just remember I was happy to be there.
But just saying that, metal, and you're like, we're not a metal band. Back to Europe. When you go to Europe, like the North Sea, you could be playing with Judas Priest over here on the stage, and Shaka Khan next,
Yeah,
and Paul Simon and BB King and Willie Nelson or somebody. All the different types of musics mixed in together with the different types of fans. Like the one time we did a show in Germany, and we were sharing the stage with Chili Peppers, and that's the first time I met Chad Smith,
yeah,
and they had a radio station at the festival that would play live for people who couldn't around Europe. So Chad was giving an interview. He's no longer with us, but anyway. But the first time I met Chad, so we're on a bus headed to the stage to do the sound check, and they're doing interviews at the festival. And they're interviewing the Peppers, and the guy says to Chad, at the time, BB had me and Caleb Infrey on drum. They had two drummers. So The guy said, "So you're sharing the stage with BB King tonight?" He goes, "Yeah, it's great." Yeah, and the guy goes, "I noticed BB has two drum kits on stage." And Chad was like, "Yeah, and he's gonna need two drum kits because I'm gonna kick both of their asses when they get over here." And he was just talking all kind of smack, man.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Yeah, he said he's gonna. Matter of fact, when I get done with him, they're gonna have me playing with BB." And he's just talking trash. So I never met Chad. I get out there. I say to the guy, "Hey, where's this Peppers trailer?" He goes, "Oh, it's right there." I say, "Is?" He says, "Yeah, they're in there right now." So I knock on the door, and Flea opens the door and said, "Yes." I go, "I'm BB King's drummer." He goes, "Oh, Chad, someone's here to see you." And Chad, he says, "BB King, one of BB King's drummers." And Chad goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" I said, "Yeah, I hear you talking all that trash. Bring your ass out here. Come on, let's fight right now, man. You talking all that bull, you know." He's Chad was, dude, I was just having fun, man. We love you guys. No, bro, come on, bring your ass out here right now. And then Chad goes, "Seriously, I go, I got you."
Yeah, good. Payback. Attaboy.
Yeah.
Little
But
Detroit punk, man. I love that kid.
exactly, man.
The oldest kid you'll ever meet.
Really, he's just so much fun, man.
He
But
has fun.
most of us drummers, we're like that. We like to have fun,
Yeah.
and you don't really find drummers that don't share.
Yeah.
Like I'll be working on a festival, and a guy say, "Hey, man, you should check out XYZ. You should try it out. Try to enhance your playing." And that's what I love about Sabian. It's always been that way. We've always had different guys that we share ideas and stuff,
Oh,
sounds.
absolutely. Yep. That's what I love hanging out with you guys at shows, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Seeing what you do in that environment is not the same as writing an email back and forth or even
No, it's not.
tippy tapping in here is ideal, but seeing it at a show, like now I know what to recommend when you're telling me it's not bright enough or it's too dark or I need
Yeah,
this, I need that. So I remember seeing you at Hollywood Bowl with BB, the one time I saw you with BB there.
yeah.
And man, what a show. But I just had no idea the level of dynamics you guys are playing at in a big place like that. I mean, that could easily is translated in, in a tiny studio or a tiny club somewhere, as it does on a big stage. I mean, yeah, when you guys hit the ceiling, that's not going to work in a small club because,
No.
you're playing the Hollywood Bowl and playing to the back of the room at times. But man, it was
And
just one of the most dynamic shows I'd ever seen.
well,
Um,
that's one thing about BB. Like he'd have his amp. He'd do what you say on the amp. Just roll them all to the right. Everything's turned up loud.
yeah, yeah,
And then and a lot of engineers would have problems because when BB wants to give some energy, he'd be
yeah,
he'd be really into it, and then he'd drop it and play to a whisper, but still
yeah,
keep the energy, but still keep the energy. Then the engineers would be like, I need to turn this up. No, don't do
yeah,
anything.
don't do it.
Just let us do the dynamics,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's
that's probably freaking them out for sure. Like,
yeah, because no, listen. I used to always have to give the new sound men, monitor guys, a speech. Whenever BB goes down, don't do anything. Just grab a beer, read a book, get on your computer.
just
We
let it
got
happen.
just let it be what it's gonna be, because we don't play one way, you
Yeah.
know.
So you were his music director too, weren't you?
I was this assistant music director. I was
Assistant
the
music
music
director.
director for the rhythm section, basically.
So for drummers who don't know, like what does that mean? What do you guys do in that role?
Well, first of all, BB depended most people, but BB depended on the drums better than. I mean, you got to be on point because that's what fueled him. If the drums aren't in his head and feel, he doesn't feel everything. Uh, he needs the drums to make him perform the way he wants to perform. That's what I'm trying to say. But
Yeah.
so me and the bass player, we got a groove, and of course the keyboard player is playing the pads and stuff, and the guitar is playing the rhythm because BB's not going to be playing rhythm. But what 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 we have to do is be able. We don't know. We don't have a set list. We don't know what he's gonna play. We only know the first two songs, and after that, you got to keep your eyes on him. And be a drummer, you got to learn how to adjust to his movement. You have to learn his nuances from
Mm.
behind him. And so
I
I'm
recognize that
watching.
movement you just did for
Yeah,
sure.
so if you ever notice BB, instead of turning, sometimes he would turn around and say, "Give me some more, drummer. Come on, Cole, man. Don't make me cut you, son."
Coleman.
Yeah, Cole, man. Pick it up, pick it up. But a lot of times, even before I was in the band, look at some BB early BB. He's doing like this. You got to just
Yeah.
follow that,
Yeah.
and then you also have to listen. He won't count off the songs. He will play the tempo on the lick. Like if it's bam, 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 then it might be bam, 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 bam. Now you gotta listen to that tempo he's playing to get it. You can't. He's not like 1, 2. No,
Man, that's got to be so hard because
it's very
for a
difficult.
drummer, we get our adrenaline going, we're playing in front of a bunch of people, and then to bring that energy at that blah, 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 blah,
Now
it's like
see, when you did that, I know that tempo.
yeah.
See what you just did? That was
Yeah.
BB, and he
But
might
man,
do,
I
and
think
then
most
and then
people would be racing and rushing, trying to, keep up with their own adrenaline and instead of using their ears. And that's got to be, that's got to take practice if it's not just a natural thing, like
Chris, and
what
then
we're
here's
talking.
and and check this out, Chris. Sometimes it's bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
Now, which one is those? You just gave me three different tempos,
Yeah.
cause he's feeling it, but he's not certain about it. So now everybody's got to lock in on me to make that decision which one he
Yeah.
wants.
What if you make the wrong decision? You get the look, or what do
You
you
get
do?
you see this hand. I wish I had a microphone over here where you could hear
That,
what was being said. The
that,
unedited versions,
uh-huh.
it would be like this.
Oh
Flam,
man.
flam, flam, mother, flam, 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 flam. But in
Man, a
front
lot of
of
those.
us,
I heard James Brown kind of did that too, and Prince picked that up later on, and all kinds of, yeah,
yes, it's like my whole thing is like, hey man, look, okay, I know I'm the pilot here. I know I'm at the helm on the ship or what have you. Just talk to me and let's have some signals so it don't have to be. Come on, just relax. I got you.
yeah.
But a lot of front guys are very insecure.
Mhm.
You'd be amazed. BB was one of the most insecure guys I ever knew on stage. He never thought he was doing good.
Yeah,
Never. He
plenty
never.
of, yeah, plenty of geniuses think that, I think.
Yeah, it's like you ever see anybody like design something like make decorate a cake and then they're looking at it like maybe I could do a little more. No, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they go, I
It's
could
easy
have
to do
done
too
that
much,
too much sometimes. It's very difficult. Just like in the recording studio. Okay, Chris, uh, I like that groove you just had. That's good. You're going, well, I think I could do it a little better. You're like, man, we'll be in here all day if somebody don't stop you. Cause
The
we
fir-
always want to do the best.
Come on, the first take's almost always the best. If you're prepared and you know the stuff, the first take's always the best. It's the same thing testing cymbals too. I was thinking
Yeah,
about trying this. I'm looking for that sound. Like, of course, here you go. And then we test 40 more cymbals after that and come back to the first one like,
that's
yeah,
right.
that's the one. Just a
That's a
process.
true statement, Chris, what
Yeah,
you just said.
yeah,
Every time first of all, BB's not going to do more than three times.
yeah.
Period. A
That's
lot of
it.
times, like if you listen to Blues on the Bayou record when we did that down in Lafayette, Louisiana, um, every one of those songs was two tracks. One was three that he was trying on acoustic, but he picked one or two, and you go, all right, I think that first one, that would be it.
Mhm. Yep.
Amazing,
Yep.
amazing. Not
So,
trying to perfect it.
so who were some of the blues drummers that influenced you growing up?
Oh man, Chris, I hated the blues growing up. I hated
Yeah.
it.
So
I
how
did
did you
not
end up in
like.
this? How did you end up in the spot you ended up then?
I'll tell you, that's a good story. Uh, when I was growing up in Kissimmee, Florida, where my house was a house in front of it across the street, and behind that house was another house, and the guy was a bootlegger. He used to sell whiskey and stuff, and he played the blues every Friday morning from Friday night until late at night. He'd play blues out of his house and Saturday. Old blues men would come over there like Muddy Waters and people like that. I knew blues because my family and the community, the culture is blues and soul music. So I have to hear, my baby, baby, but as a kid, you're hearing the blues, and I'm like, man, I hate that music, man.
Yeah.
So then I hear James Brown, give me some popcorn, whatever. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So the blues was the last thing I wanted to play. I heard it all my life and all of that. Now I moved to Chicago. After I got out of the military, I got, I was going to art school, commercial art school at night and working at Disney World during the day. I was wearing a bird suit at Disney World.
Okay.
I was Orville the albatross from the Rescuers movie.
Gonna need some pictures of that, by the way.
I got a picture of it. It's the only suit that you got your arms and the wings. You can't touch anything. And I tried to hit on some girls in the bird suit, got fired.
Oops.
Hey, meet me at 5 o'clock. Anyway, did you talk? No, I didn't talk. But
Big Bird tried to pick up on me.
yeah. So my friends from the military that was in a band, we had a band. The sax player said, "Move to Chicago, man. Let's put the band together in Chicago." We was like the original Blues Brothers, and we moved to Chicago to be the next Earth, Wind, and Fire. We thought, and of course, it wasn't working out, and people started going back home. But I stayed in Chicago, and I ended up getting blues gigs around Chicago, so doing shuffles and stuff. And I was like, man, I don't like this blues, guys. I want to play some funk.
Yeah.
Then I ended up getting with a soul singer, Otis Clay, and we were doing a lot of blues festivals. And we did the main blues festival for Purvis Span, this really famous DJ promoter out of Chicago that crowned Aretha Franklin the Queen of Soul.
Mhm.
So he had a tour, and it was B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, Albert King, Muddy Waters, Tyrone Davis, uh, Otis, O.V. Wright, all these blues people. At the end of the tour in Chicago, it was a jam session, and B.B. King heard us and offered us a job. So, and when I was with BB, I didn't appreciate it. I was like still complaining. We were doing festivals with Rufus and Shaka Khan and Chic and uh, uh, all the funk bands and stuff.
Yeah. Fun
And
stuff.
yeah, so I was like, man, I don't want to be wearing suits. I want to be playing with them. And then BB got on my ass one time for making fun of the blues, and he got on my ass, and that's a long story, but he made me feel real stupid. And he was like, imagine that. And he he made me. I was making fun of this place down in Mississippi where we were playing out in the cotton fields out there, and the building was old. And BB would play for free, but we still get paid. But he would play for the people so they couldn't afford to see him.
Yeah.
And then everybody was going off the bus to the gig and to the stage, and BB said, "Tony Coleman, I want to have a talk with you. You think this is funny? I hear you laughing and making fun of this place. Well, son, this is where I'm from, and when you make fun of these people, you're making fun of me, son, and it hurts. It really hurts." He said, "When I was coming up, white people didn't like me because I was black, and I had to be careful on what I said. And then when I went to up north to play the blues, the black folks didn't like me because I was playing the blues, and that made me feel black twice." Now, if you don't want to play the blues, we'll figure it out. So after that story, I was determined to listen to everybody. Fred Belo,
Yeah.
I started listening and studying. I said to myself, I'm gonna be the best damn blues playing drummer in the world, man. And that's what I've tried to do.
That would have brought me on board too, for sure. Getting that speech, man. Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty powerful.
yeah, it was, man.
Yeah.
And every time I tell that story, Chris, I still feel it, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine like right there.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
he he was serious about pleasing people, pleasing the people, and that was his thing. That's one thing I learned about him. It's about pleasing the people. You got nothing to do with this. You were just a vehicle to make those people happy. That was his attitude.
Yeah.
And every time I play, that's the way I think, man. I'm gonna play. I'm in it,
Yeah.
you know.
That's great, man.
But I listen to all those guys, man, and there's so many different types of shuffles.
Mhm.
And that's one thing we've discussed over the years on different symbols to use for different venues because sometimes, one may resonate a little bit too much and overpower the whole notes of the guitar. It doesn't match, you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
crashes might be too harsh. So that's why I like when we can go to the factory and get with you guys and pick different symbols that match. You have to have a certain selection to work in different situations.
Sure. So you were changing setups entirely, or did you carry a favorite ride or hats to
I
all those gigs, or?
I had my favorite, but like I said, sometimes, like, I'll give you an example. Like right now, people find this weird, but my favorite is that Paragon ride.
Yeah, that's a
I
nine
love,
pound ride. That's a
and
very
everybody
heavy
freaks out,
ride. It
but see,
doesn't sound that heavy. It doesn't play that heavy, but it is a heavy ride. So, I don't know if it's a thing, but you, Johnny Vodakovich, Ziggy Modalise, like all these old school guys I look up to, they're all playing heavy rides, but they're not playing the kind of music you would think you would associate with a ride cymbal like that. But you hear those guys, it doesn't sound like they're playing a manhole cover, that's for sure. So the touch and feel, I guess, I don't know what it is, man.
it's
It's
the
just,
touch.
yeah, you need that
See,
feedback.
yeah, you can build on it.
Yeah,
See, and like my hand. A lot of guys don't. We don't have. You don't see that like you're in the
yeah,
army.
yeah.
You can just whip it with your wrist like that,
Hmm.
and then you can build on it, make it louder, and you can make it quieter, and
Yeah,
it'll give you still some definition.
yeah, yeah.
And,
A
and
lot of people a lot of people think those symbols like that will, overpower the mix and bleed everywhere. It's like, not really. In ride cymbals, the heavier they are, yes, the fundamental pitch is higher, but it actually washes in a register on the frequency band that does not poke through and bleed, even as much as, say, a splash cymbal or small
that's
crash.
right.
It's deeper in the mix, but you have that definition from the get-go all the way up to the end of that thing. You start bashing on it, sure, it's gonna, usually a heavier cymbal is gonna give you a fundamental pitch that you're not gonna like. So you're not gonna pull that feedback out of the cymbal. You're either gonna
Hmm.
slapstick it. If you slapstick it on the bow, that it doesn't draw out that pitch. So it just depends on which cymbal you're playing. But there's often misconceptions about cymbals, like heavy
Yeah.
cymbals like that, especially that one. Um,
And I
and
use and I use it and I use excuse me, Chris, and I also use the heavy AA.
AAX heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
AX. The
Yep.
heavy. The heavy. Those are my two favorites.
Yep. And that's a much mellower cymbal than somebody might
Yes.
think too. It doesn't,
That's right.
it's got more in common with, say AX medium ride than it does a HH power bell or something like that. So,
Hmm.
we changed the studio stage and metal AAX designs a few years ago, and
Yeah.
we couldn't call the new designs the same thing, otherwise everybody get mixed up. So we ended up calling them thin, medium, and heavy. And you know, marketing wise, maybe not the most exciting names, but they're really great cymbals and worth a listen.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
who cares what they're called when you're playing them?
and I use a different approach when I'm playing with horns because the first bands I ever played with, everybody had horns. Growing up in Florida, like if you didn't have 4 or 5 horns in your band, you were not you wasn't a band.
I had two. They were enough of a pain in the ass. I don't know how you do 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's and the damn horn players always putting their damn horns on the couches and stuff. It's like, hey, get that
Get it out
damn
of the way.
yeah, why they do
Dripping,
that?
dripping spit all over the dressing room. Nasty.
But the guitar thing, the cymbals got to reflect the sound of what the main sound is for the band, and it makes a difference. And if I hear the horns when I was playing with Bobby Blue Bland, it was more orchestrated because
Mhm.
his blues is like you can listen to it, you can hear the difference. It's like I mean the arrangements were like just different dynamics,
Yeah.
and you gotta hit those horn accents. Ba, 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 ba. Ah! And the cymbals, you have to find the cymbals to match those because it can sound off. We'll listen to tapes on the bus going down the highway and go, man, your cymbals don't match the horns. Guys can hear that.
A lot of clashing going on. And
Yeah,
it's not
we
just the horns with BB and that, solo register he's playing in.
yes, that's
With the
right.
horns and a bright ride cymbal or even the hi-hats, like there's a lot of competing stuff going on right
Yes.
there. So yeah, working around it, picking the right cymbals. A lot of guys go the Memphis route or the big and ugly stuff that we've
Mm-hmm.
made, which sits deep in the mix. It's low. There's definition there, but it's woody tie. It's not ding,
Yes.
ding to ding. It doesn't have the ceiling that a Paragon ride cymbal does for sure, but
Right.
it just provides that contrast enough where it works in some situations when you've got all that competition for frequency band going on. Because bleed is a I've heard that so much in recent years. People with
Mm-hmm.
their in ears now, and stage monitors kind of going away. Everybody's on in ears, so bleed is it's more almost more like a studio environment on stage sometimes. Um, and bleed is a real thing. So they're looking for saw. That's why there's a trend for, thinner, hotter, deeper sounding cymbals, I think, like Legacy, of course, the Complex, and even our
Yeah.
new Stratus. That's sitting in a frequency band that's, definitely not a traditional place where they would normally be for sure.
Yeah.
But
And just listening to you, Chris, say what you just said about in-ears and bleeds and things of that nature. It's great that we can advance to that technical side right there that you said. That's a beautiful thing. You can go. One of the best concerts I heard was Tom Petty. Ferroni was up there with Tom Petty, and he was crunching, man. And I won't back down. I won't back down. And but the volume was there, but it was you could hear everything.
yeah,
The sound
St-
was like Petty had a great. They had a great sound. I watched Steve. It's layered in there. The Eagles, and Stevie Wonder, and a country act, Alan Jackson. I heard that. That was one of the best sounding bands I heard based on all
Bruce
of
Bruce Rutherford.
that. So now, when you get with soul music or things of that nature, all that's out the window. It's raw. It's like going to Whole Foods. You got raw. You don't
Whole
have
paycheck.
packaged up perfect tomatoes. You go to the food. You at the farmer's market. The
Yeah.
tomatoes are different colors, different shapes. It's raw. You got to wash some of that dirt off them when you get home. That's organic rawness. And when you play in funk soul bands, that rawness, that tempos and all that, that's out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, perfection. It's the roots. It's really rooted roots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And the drumming. and cymbals and things of that nature. But these musicians on stage, they're listening to everything. But you don't have all the technology with the in ears and stuff. A lot of the rooted guys don't want to hear none of that. I want to
Mhm.
play the way I feel today.
Yeah.
Tonight,
Well, there's definitely something to be said for that raw, just stage volume, everything's plugged in, everybody's
yeah.
coming through live and you know, definitely safer with in-ears, because we all know sound guys back then when everybody was cooking, especially those damn horns, they'd spike that stuff and, it might about tear your head off, but there's still no
Take,
substitute. And it's like electronic drums versus real drums, man. It's
yeah.
just something different about the primal feeling of playing and getting that volume right back at you, and just the feel of everybody else locking in at full volume matching the natural volume of the drums. There's just something to be said for that, it's no substitute with
No.
drums or in-ears, and to me anyway.
Yeah, for me, like I use in ears occasionally when it's a situation where I know I'm not going to be able to hear what I want to hear to play off of.
Yeah.
You're just in a situation. It's one room in Wichita, Kansas called a cotillion ballroom. I'm telling you, if you play there, you'll know what I'm talking about. That sound is going everywhere. That it's like a little dome. It was a dance. You musicians out there that have been to Wichita, you play the cotillion ballroom. You know that sucks. but but you could use some in ears. That way you don't have to play so hard or so soft. You know what you'll know where you are.
Yeah.
But on a lot of situations when you're playing at these venues, I I got to hear the band to know I'm together with the dynamics, because like I said, we're not just playing one volume all night. We're playing dynamics, and I always when I go do a sound check, I like to have somebody play the drums, and then I go out there and hear them, and because
Yeah.
a lot of times I've seen bands on stage, Chris, where they're hitting the crash and I don't hear it.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know
yeah.
what I mean? And that's why I love when I can call you and say, "Hey, I need to swap out something, man, or something. Help me out,
Yeah.
Chris. I'm having problems on this particular tour. We're playing arenas or outside festivals, and the cymbals aren't cutting through. And you deal with that.
Oh man, well, there's a trend out there, particularly within, rock arena bands that want to look good, that are miking the cymbals from the underside. Well,
Ah,
that's not the direction the vibrations and sound waves are coming off that cymbal. So you're getting some kind of crap representation of what you're hearing behind the kit and what the people are hearing on stage.
yeah,
Half the time out front, wow, it sounds so terrible, I'll just turn it down. Well, that's because you got the microphone up the ass end of the cymbal. It's not where
right.
it's supposed to be, damn
The
kids.
sound comes out like
It
that.
does. It goes off the sides and
Yeah,
like this way, right up to the overheads.
yeah. That's why those
So,
overheads, you got them. You can hear that sound,
yeah.
and and
Now,
and and that's an important thing. And the hi hats, man, I love the. Right now, I'm using 16s.
the A Explosion
Yeah,
16s or the A
yes,
Apollo. Okay.
the explosions. On my Drumeo video, I got a lot of compliments about my hi hat on there.
Yep.
By the way, I read all the comments.
You do. You shouldn't do that.
No, no,
You
it's
shouldn't do
fun.
that.
It's fun. It's funny. I
Now, I
love,
love
I
those
love.
16-inch hats, man. I played those on a gig recently myself with some really big crashes and just playing Meathead Rock. And man, did I have fun playing those. Like, I
Yeah,
could
they
never
sound.
imagine playing 16-inch hi-hats growing up because,
Me
in
either.
80s and 90s, it was all 13s, 14s,
14s
maybe.
and 13s.
I didn't know anybody was playing 15s back then. It was pretty much all 14s. And
Yeah, so
I don't know if it was, some say it's the Nashville studios. Well, of course, Steve Jordan, I think, is probably where it really started, putting two
uh-huh.
17-inch crash cymbals together. And man, I had so much fun watching him at Jazz Fest last year. After the Stones played, he came back the next day and played with some friends, and I was just kind of watching from afar, and didn't want to, because I don't like to poach other people's artists or anything
Right.
like that. So I just let him do his thing. But Steve likes to play what Steve likes to play, and I watched him go through 3 bags of cymbals from all different brands, and what he came up with, and he played 2 cymbals that day, a pair of hi-hats and a 22-inch Legacy ride with the
Mm.
18-inch HHX stage hat top and 18-inch AA medium bottom. And he played those 18-inch hi-hats with that 122-inch ride, the whole set, and there wasn't nothing missing, man. Steve Jordan's groove. So that
Yeah.
was just a pleasure, to hear that, because he's been a Peisty guy for 100 years. So it's always
Oh,
cool to
okay.
just, I wonder what they would like, sound like playing, or wonder what they would choose. So got that all in one nice little neat little hour-long package, man. What a great
You
experience. And
you you got a symbol that you used to have. I actually used to like it. It was the octagon.
the Roctagon.
Roctagon, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, man, that AA version, the first generation, man, it was heavy. Jeff Watt,
We
Jeff,
don't have it
Jeff,
anymore.
Jeff Watt still uses that old heavy AA. What we
You,
did
you,
was, last year we did, like a limited run of a redesign of that, an AAX. So it feels more modern. It responds without having to beat it with a sledgehammer like the old one.
right, yeah.
You know? And so it was popular enough that we put it in the catalog. So there's a 18-inch AAX Roctagon available now.
I always liked that symbol. It used to cut
Yeah,
through pretty good, pretty damn good,
you
man.
got to try the new one.
Yeah, yeah. I always wondered where are those?
Yeah.
I hadn't checked that out in a while.
Just,
Um,
one of those things that went away after so many years. People stop buying stuff. There's no, we used to let things just pile up in the catalog. Everything we ever made is in there. And dealers started to be like, dudes, what are you guys doing, man? There's like 600 things I'm supposed to keep track of. Are you kidding me? So we cut out
how
some of the stuff
good
that ain't selling.
are you at doing the lathing?
Well, let me tell you, the first time I tried it, when you run the lathe across the surface of a cymbal, it spits a ribbon of bronze out. And
Yeah.
first time I did it, not wearing glasses, spit it right in my eye.
Hold up. Time out. Time out.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah, man, they were,
Are
probably
you
teaching
kidding
me a
me? You gonna
lesson or
get in
something.
front of damn metal flying everywhere with nothing on you?
I was doing exactly what they showed me to do, but yep, got my head in the wrong place and spit it right at my face. Thankfully no damage or anything, but yeah, it could
Yeah.
have been really stupid. But yeah, I learned my lesson, and like, maybe show me again how to do this right.
Right.
But hand hammering was a little bit easier for me, but as anybody will tell you, that's definitely not as easy as it seems. Um,
I've tried it. I can never.
Man, if you're not hitting, the contact patch and sweet spot on between the cymbal and the anvil is about as big as a dime. And if you miss that spot by, it's like hitting an aluminum baseball in the wrong place. Like, you just get that shock through your hands, and right away, because you can hear it too, like
Yeah,
clunk,
yeah, yeah,
clunk.
right. That's
When it's
right.
right on, it's ping, 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 and you get the rebound off that hammer. So like, how can those guys do that for, 6, 8 hours a day? Like, basically, it's just this motion. Like, you're not muscling that hammer. It's doing the work for
No.
you.
It's
Just like a
it,
technique, playing the drums right,
that's
watching,
right.
Weckl and Dom and those guys who taught me about the Moeller method, let the instruments do the work for you,
Let it bounce. Let it bounce. Just
Yeah,
like golf. Just like golf.
absolutely.
You can't swing the golf club like a baseball bat.
Exactly. So that's, I've been done a lot of the processes at the factory, but I'm no craftsman as far as that goes. I know enough to get my eye put out. That's about it. But there's
Yeah.
definitely years of experience that go into doing all those operations correctly, up to the standards that we need. Because think about it now, an artisan cymbal, for example, or a complex, that is goes through all the craft forming, we call it, all the heat treatment, put the shape in the cymbal. It gets hammered twice, hand hammered and HHX hammered. So if it gets to one of the last operations, say, you
Yeah.
know, buffing or lathing, and that gets screwed up, it just ruined the work of all those people that it got to that point. And it's really expensive to toss out a cymbal that doesn't come up to snuff. But with that much handwork and what we do, it's expensive. Um, but we chuck them when they're not right. The
Yeah,
cymbal
I know.
you can't see too. Um, Buffing the cymbal, for example, brings the metal back up, several hundred degrees. So it's not only making the cymbal shiny, it's basically like a heat treatment because the metal's heated up so much again. So it's moving the molecules around internally in the bronze. So it does affect the sound. Don't ask me to explain what brilliant finish does to a cymbal because it also depends on how everything else that leads up to that point, the shape, the thickness, the bell size, all that plays a part. But I would say in general, a brilliant finish and that extra heat treatment makes the metal a little more looser. It loosens it up a little bit so it responds a little bit faster. But if you hold that cymbal on the buffer a couple seconds too long in the same place, you will heat treat that part of the cymbal differently and you create a weak spot in the metal. That's why
Mhm.
brilliant finishes sometimes, very rarely, but once in a while, get a cymbal back from an artist that just ripped from the edge, 3, 4 inches in from the edge. Like, man, it's a brand new cymbal. I'm like, I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question about we're talking about brilliant symbols. When I was growing up and I was around the older guys, like Art Blakey and Elvin and all those guys and well, any jazz drummers, they will never polish their cymbals.
No.
They just keep them just what
Yeah.
never touch them. And
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 even
that hmm,
even today too,
yeah,
Dave
and
Weckl,
and
Steve
and
Gadd, those guys don't do that. Tane.
don't put nothing on it. It could have a cake icing of dirt on it, and
Yeah.
and the cymbals still sound good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So that's
so
just a personal thing, I
it's a
think some
personal
people,
thing. It's a
um,
personal.
I would say to any collectors out there, do not clean your vintage cymbals.
Right.
You're gonna take away some of the value of it.
Because they're gonna age. They're gonna age
Yeah.
like a wine. They're gonna,
Bronze does age. That's a true statement. The crystallized bronze changes
yeah.
over time, where the crystals kind of break down. You get sort of a brittle kind of attack. It's
Hmm.
not fragile. It doesn't make it more fragile or anything, but you just hear in the sound how it changes. In the short term, a cymbal breaks in by the pitch dropping and the metal become looser. So
Right.
in general. But the vintage cymbals aging over time, like, yeah, they definitely, that's why it's so hard to replicate those old cymbals.
You're right.
People, it's very easy to make a dark cymbal. Oh, those old Ks were so great and dark. It's like, they weren't dark. We don't have the same definition of dark
They were
because
aged.
those cymbals have a high-end sparkle and transparency. Um, yes, they have a low-pitch wash in most cases, but they
Uh-huh.
have a brightness that if you haven't actually played an old K from Turkey, those have a brightness that most people don't know about until they play one in person.
Wow. So I want to ask you a question. Pull back a minute. I see your logo there. Yeah, it's Sabian Cymbals. The Sabian, and that little line, that little circle. The first thing people think is that represents a symbol, and like half of a symbol, right? And
Yes,
when it was under, but I was told by Mr. Bob Zildjian that it wasn't based on that. It was based on the logging tree.
I have been working here 25 years. I never heard that from Bob. I was at dinner at Sally Zildjian's house, the SAB, the SA
Yes,
and
yeah, I want
Sabian.
to ask you about that too.
I was at dinner at Sally and John's place with the Portnoy boys last fall, and I heard for the first time ever that that half of the logo on our old logo is not only represents a symbol, but more so all the loggers that helped Bob Zildjian build Sabian that
Yes.
lived around the community of
Right.
Medvednik, New Brunswick. Most of the craftsmen came from the logging industry. So it was kind of a tribute to them as much as it was, half
To
of the
the symbol.
symbol. So
That
I'm like, how the hell did I make it 25 years and never hear that? Blew my mind
because
because I
because you just
researched and I got into that stuff, because I was given trainings on the history of the company and all that back in the day. And Bob never mentioned anything, or if he did, maybe I wasn't listening, but I
because you
always listened
because
when he talked.
you were thinking about it, but you didn't ask. See, I was thinking about it, and I asked him when I went up there. He took me around and stuff, and I said, "Hey, that's pretty cool. How did you come up with the idea of the symbol, the symbol lines around?" He said, "That's not what it came from." He told me the story about the loggers that helped
Yep,
build the factory, and he wanted to honor them, and it reminded him of the symbols and the loggers.
yep,
And
yeah.
every
That's
time out here where I live, I see the logging out here in Oregon, and I see those trucks with the trees, and I think Sabian. I'm gonna
yeah.
put Sabian on the back of the log
But no,
because
it's
that's
such
the
a
look.
such a great story though, and those folks up there, a lot of those guys have been at the company for, the first generation is pretty much only just retiring. Lord
Yeah.
Hargrove and Mark Love,
Oh
Robert
yeah.
Mason, Peter
Yeah.
Stairs is still there. Like there's a bunch of people that have been there for like 30,
They're
40
so
years.
amazing. Those guys are just amazing.
Yeah,
Now to
it's just a
continue
great
about this
history.
about the Savior name, I haven't been saying the Z word, but Mr. Bob Zildjian, of course, he was Zildjian Cymbals, his brothers, the family Zildjians. So I explain to people at my drum clinics, they'll start talking about Zildjian compared to Sabian. I say, it's still a Zildjian that makes Sabian. What do you? They say, well, why does he? It's Sabian. Is that a Turkish word? I go, no, man. He named it after his three kids, after their children. The first two letters in all of their kids' name. Sally, Bill, and Andy. So Sabian. They go, that's really cool. So now people are trying to think of names after their kids' letters to put together.
Well, Bob, he was tenacious, driven, motivated. He wanted to make symbols the way he wanted to make them, with the people he wanted to make them with. And when he split with his brother after their father died, it was just sort of disappointing that he wasn't allowed to, keep any of the trademarks or anything. So there were, I would say, a couple, wink, wink, nod, nod, middle fingers to his older brother, shall we say. And one of them
Right.
was ending Sabian with IAN, which is just enough not to get in trouble with the Zildjian trademark. And then Zildjian had the A series, of course. And what
Right.
was the first series from Sabian?
A
AA.
series. Yeah, AA.
I'm going to call it AA. Stands for automated anvil. Sure it does, Bob. Sure it does. Yeah. Yeah. So I
he
love that guy. Miss
I
him
love it,
dearly.
man. He always made me feel like I was a part of his family. He did that to all of us.
Yeah.
He would actually listen to me talk and ask me questions. He reminded me of BB King. If people would approach BB and say, "Mr. King, could I get a photo, or could you sign something?" He said, "Sure." He signed it. Then he started asking them questions.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Man, just sign the thing and make them go."
Nope.
So one day and Bob Zildjian was that way. He engaged with you. He talked to you, found out about how you're doing and stuff like that. He was really
Well,
great.
some of the best humans I've met all think that all the other humans they meet have something to say, something to
Yeah,
learn, something to teach, whether it's their experience or, just advice or whatever, their knowledge. And Bob was very good at pulling that out of everybody that worked for him and
yeah, he
everybody he
was.
met. So yeah, it's just a rare, rare person in that regard, I think.
And see, I was a illegal alien in Canada one time. I was an alien. I'm an illegal alien. I'm an alien in Canada. I was living in Vancouver, Canada, illegally, but
Yeah.
well, it wasn't really illegal. Yes, it was. Uh, anyway, and I met Sally when we both did equestrian. I did. Can you imagine? I used to do equestrian.
Okay.
See, you don't want to believe that. See, yeah, I used to do jumping, horse jumping.
Awesome.
So Sally and I, we love equestrian. She was one of the best at it.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's good to have other things other than music to do, to take you away sometime, But
Yeah. Same
but
here,
we
I
we went to
motorcycle.
San we yeah, stay out. I'll tell you this motorcycle story too. I had one of those, and Willie Nelson's guitar player Grady Martin saw me on the Harley. He said, "Hey, you need to get something with some doors on it. You're gonna ruin your career." And then the next week, I got in an accident. But I was on in Daytona Beach, but I was only going about 20 miles an hour, and then I fell, blocked my wrist, and messed my wrist up. And I got rid of it. Then another time, like I told you, I used to do equestrian, and we was in Santiago, Chile, and the promoter and his family had a big reception for us for BB. And the young girl, had on her riding boots, and I could see the horsehair on the heels of the boots when you ride. And I say, "So you've been riding today?" She said, "Yes." "How do you know?" I said, "I ride too." And BB said, "Yeah, don't listen to him. He ride the horse on his back." Always got something
BB.
smart to say. But
Thanks.
but no, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do my podcast, and I'm gonna get better at it.
Yeah, I hope, me too, I hope.
Yeah, but I don't want this to be the last time we talk on it. Just catch up and stuff. And I want to thank everybody at Sabian for how well you've treated me, and the working relationship. And I always try to tell people about endorsements. Hey, man, endorsement is a two-way street, man. You got to do stuff too. You
Yeah,
can't just expect something. You got to do something.
we
So
appreciate
everybody
that.
gets Sabian symbols, and damn it, listen to what I'm telling you. If you don't, I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna throw your symbols. We're gonna fight.
There you go. Go get them. Tony, thanks for having me on, man.